Let us breathe together as we commune with fresh waters.
I am Jazz, the spirit nurturer.
I am Jay and the goddess. Let us breathe together as we commune with fresh waters.
I am Jazz, the spirit nurturer.
I am Jay and the goddess. Peace. As we come to the circle in connection, Seed 5 takes us into I am the essence of life, water presence as I am. Our stories in council weaves our collective water connectivity as students of our cosmic ancestor, water. We hope these stories inspire your remembrance of who you are as water and conscious creation with water. Enjoy. Let us breathe, returning to presence. Let us breathe, returning to the essence of our being. Taking a deep inhale, bringing the breath to the crown, reciting Ave, hail to the divine. Exhaling with a sigh, honoring the divine. Deep inhale, Ave, sigh. Deep inhale, Ave, sigh. Deep inhale, sigh. Surrendering into a smile as we commune with the presence of our being. We breathe into our self as the presence of the divine.
Okay.
Okay. So let's get comfortable in our bodies. Let's take a couple of breaths here. Breathing and connecting with our presence. Let's take 2 evasive breaths. Deeply inhale. Sigh. Deeply inhale. Sigh. And as we're connecting and tuning into our presence, let's feel into our body and feel into the space within us. Connecting with the presence. Connecting with our breath. Feeling the vastness of our body. Feeling the vastness of our being as we're breathing. Knowing that we are the presence of water. Breathing in the consciousness and presence of our being as water, as the essence of life. And as you're connecting with yourself, connecting with your waters, connecting with the fluidity of your being, connecting with the fluidity of the nature of you, know that you are connected to all waters. And feel this connection in your being, this connection that you have to all waters. Feel it in your presence. Feel it awakened in your heart, reverberating consciousness to you. Breathing here, acknowledging water as the presence of I am. And as we're holding this energy, share one or two words to describe the intention you are holding in our circle today.
Integration. That was the word that came to me. And I heard that through your use of connection. Connection was really like vibrating everywhere. It was like connecting everywhere. So integration is the one word that I have, share.
I feel for me, I am receiving an image of just wholeness because I too am resonating with the word connection. And so I'm actually just seeing like a full body of water floating, emanating, reverberating. And so I'm feeling a presence of oneness, and I'm feeling an essence of expressing oneness. I feel like our circle being around the connection, integration, wholeness of water is a very sacred circle that we're sharing today. I feel like exploring our connection with water together in this holy communion is very sacred. And so I'm wanting to honor the stories that lives inside our bodies, that tells the passage of the waterways we are connected to, and the waterways that our ancestors are connected to, that lives within us. These stories that lives within us, that connects us to our ancestral waterways. So it's really an honor to be connecting consciously and speaking consciously about our conscious relationship with water, our ancestral relationship with water. And so the first prompt that I want us to sit with is expressing our relationship with water right now. And I would like for us to allow the story to come forward that expresses how connection and wholeness and integration feels like in our life because we have this relationship with water. What is that story that wants to be shared?
Immediately what came to me was privilege. Privilege in the sense of me remembering traveling to mainly to pieces of land or areas within the states that are near large bodies of water, specifically the ocean, and how it was a privilege to be able to like go there and how cool, it was. Because where I live, there aren't like large bodies such as an ocean, but we have like different bodies of water. We're known as the 10,000 lakes. And then also, from what I know, the where the Mississippi River begins. So it's like a waterway or like a water land where I'm at. But, living or being in an environment where my connection with water is, I guess you could say, different. Because it seems like the best way to connect with water is in nature, with the elements. Of course, being outside when the weather is corresponding with your body, with my body, warm weather, and just sitting next to the lake or near the lake and just being there. But yeah, being in an environment where that's, it's limited times, and the most time to spend with the water is when it's in a different state, when it's in a frozen state or in a colder state. As I was saying that, being next to the bodies or just being in presence with, lake bodies. I remember I used to love walking around the lake. I haven't done it recently, but I enjoy like walking around the lake since we have so many different lakes. But I remember a job I used to work at, and it was working like with a park board for the city that I live in, and it would involve me driving around like the lakes and like kind of monitoring the lakes. Like that was kind of like the duties, but the piece that I took from it was exploring like the waters, and it was so cool. Like I guess more so, it introduced me to the different parts of where I live. Because before entering that job, I mean, I didn't travel around my city or around the state. I was just kind of navigating where I grew up at. Like walking around here. Like there's a lake near my house, or actually it's considered a pond, maybe a small pond or a good size. But if something wasn't, I guess you can say, close driving proximity, it wasn't something that I was really exploring. And working at this job, and this is like the beauty, the message within it, because the job itself, on the surface, it wasn't for me, but like the underneath, I'm thinking about what you said earlier, as you pass through the ego. Once you pass through the ego, I found the wisdom. And that was literally learning so much about the different bodies of water that are by me, that I didn't even know of, or wasn't really heavily introduced to them when I was younger. It was something probably that just bypassed me. But, I love to explore. And I'm just thinking about the many times at work, as you can say on the clock, where I would park the car and like I would travel. Like I would park the car somewhere and I would go into I'm trying to think of how to describe it, but the area I'm thinking of right now is by the river. And it's considered like an industrial part, but like you go down like the steps and it's like almost like a creek kind of. And it's like pretty cool. It's almost like going hiking within the city. Hiking within the city. But even now another place is coming up that I learned of while at that job, and it was like this hidden beach. It was like literally traveling a journey along the water, um in different like layers of land, on the dirt, on the gravel, and then like there's sand, and there's so many trees, and then there's a bridge. And then at the end of the journey, here's the river, like here's the big body of water where you can go fishing. If you want to swim, maybe you can go swimming. But yeah, that just came to me. And now I'm seeing like that's a privilege. Like that has been a privilege. I guess like going to a beach, like an ocean beach, the privilege is, being able to be in the water with the different elements compared to like a lake beach. But really taking or seeing water as I am, I've really realized that truly water is I am, and that's through any I am. And any whatever word comes after it, water already is, but it almost like water is like a reflection. I had written down water is like the reflection of life. Water is the reflection of the energy of the I was gonna say it's children, but it's like I'm thinking of like the spirit of different areas. And like the spirit of where I am, obviously it gets cold and water kind of gets more dense, gets heavily dense. And that's just what it is compared to like other areas where maybe there's like a different type of spirit in water, may get a little aggressive, and travel on the land, and kind of be like, okay, maybe it's time to cleanse. But it's almost like water is like this reflection, and the reflection can get so maybe dense or pure, but like there's like the reflection kind of like clashes, like it's like there's no longer reflection, we're just integrating, like we're coming together. And maybe the come together is the transformation, is the alchemy, is the healing. But I guess water can only reflect for so long until you have to be with water. And I'm coming back to the water within me, or me as a water being truly. And I guess that's where the integration comes in of one thing I've really realized, being on this journey and in witnessing many people who connect with different elements, and, the water element and its healing capabilities. It's like take a spiritual bath or maybe go to the lake, go to the ocean, kind of being with it for certain periods of time. But now I'm like, what about our waters? Like, what about my water? Am I able to just literally bathe in my presence? Allowing my waters, I guess that's crying. I guess that's what obviously what crying is. But, like, do I need to go to the bathtub or to the bathroom or go to the beach or go to these other forms? If those aren't available, is my water form enough to cleanse me? And that was something that just came. But water, yeah, water is. And I guess just again, going back to as water being the reflection and that integration, kind of once the reflection or the glass shatters, it's like that learning to, I really want to say structure our waters, because the glass breaks many times, the reflection shatters, the reflection gets integrated, the reflection transforms. Like it's literally a cycle. It's like almost like being on I think this movie I just watched recently, it was like I think made in the 70s or something, but they were these men were traveling on water. This I think where the water was maybe a city or something used to be there, but they were like so eager to be like, oh, we've never done this before, but we're gonna travel on this water. Not really being too aware of the journey. And it was a interesting journey, but just kind of seeing the way, like how, navigating the waters on a canoe, like how there's like the relaxed, like, the slow, like chill, like we get to kind of observe nature and like kind of like be relaxed. Then there's like the rushing waters, with the rocks sticking out and like having to really be hyper aware and almost contain yourself while navigating it. And then like thinking of a waterfall, like maybe a small waterfall, and just ensuring that you're okay while going through that. Yeah, I was just kind of witnessing that, while watching the movie and just the different pieces of water within just one river. Like it's one body of river, this one body um of water. Yet, I guess the vessel, I mean, you as the vessel, me as the vessel really depends on like how am I navigating the waters. There are moments when the waters are still, moments when the waters are fast and rushing, and the waters are maybe like require more breath, um, require more presence, but as the vessel on the waters. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the waters never change. Like the water is always gonna be what it be. The only shift is like how am I navigating, like how am I moving, how am I harmonizing, how am I I guess floating. Yeah. I'm complete with the water that just came up.
Thank you for sharing so much. I feel like with me, there's a dynamic picture, a dynamic story that comes forward for me as I think about my relationship with water and my connection. And it kind of starts with the memories that I have of the spiritual ceremonies, the spiritual rituals that I would participate in, that I would observe as a child growing up in Guyana, and how water was such a big part of this ritual and this ceremony, and the different pujas that we would do. And so I feel like for me, when I think about my relationship with water, there's always this sacredness, this essence of sacredness that I feel a connection with, that I feel like I never really had words for when I was younger to talk about and describe, because I was just in ceremony growing up. And conscious dialogue about our relationship with water wasn't really happening at those times. We were just in our rituals and in our practices. And also, I was very young, I was a child. So, for me, this relationship with water is like the sacred relationship that's kind of mysterious. And I use the word mysterious because I feel like as a child growing up, as I was with water and water was around me all the time, particularly the big bodies of water, they they always seemed so mysterious to me. The beaches in Guyana where we would perform our ceremonies, it always seemed so vast and so sacred, and like we were connecting with this being that was kind of mysterious. And then in our local rural area, where we would have trenches, and trenches where the dams were connecting one, I guess, lot of land to other lots of lands, and we would have to cross over these trenches. Those dark waters were also very mysterious for me. And for me, it was always this not knowing of the water creatures and the creatures of the water, and and that being a mystery for me, having knowledge that there are creatures that lives within the waters, and that I guess added another layer of mystery to this sacred being that I felt was around me and that I was around all the time. So I feel like with me and this story that I have with water, it started off with this sacred, mysterious connection when I was in Guyana. But then as I migrated and I moved to Canada, that relationship shifted and changed. And I feel it's because of the way the society is built around the honoring the sacredness of water here. And for lack of a better word, there is no honoring the sacredness of water here. That is an individual practice that you have to come into with yourself. And so I feel like for me there was this like severing of my connection with water that happened when I migrated. And because I was so young when I was migrating here, I didn't have a conscious knowing of what water meant to me in that moment. And so it took some, you know, quote unquote, kind of getting lost in the society of Western countries and having to find myself again as an indigenous person of the diaspora and reconnect with water again. So there's this reconnection with water that's happening for me now in this particular period of my life where that integration is coming back in that kind of way where I'm recognizing that this connection with water has always been so readily present within my body. Because these ceremonies that I keep, these ceremonies that I practice, they are the connection through the waters with my ancestors and through the people that I come from. And so as I continue to consciously explore my relationship with water now, I am reconnecting with ancestors. I am reconnecting with a sacred being that has always been part of my life, that has always been in some way making me feel connected to oneness. Right? These relationships that I've had with water when I was younger was connecting me to oneness, to this essence of being connected to all of life. And I think that's the sacredness and the mystery that I was kind of feeling when I was younger. It's that recognition of interconnection, that recognition of sacred oneness, that recognition that I am part of all of this and all of this is part of me. And that is the recognition of the I am that is. Right? And so now I can talk about it like this, and now I can talk about my relationship with water in this kind of way. But I think it has been a journey with myself to come into this, let's say, harmonizing with water and to come into this harmony with water again in a way that is sustaining life for myself and for how I care for this being in my life. So that's kind of the story that's coming up for me as I'm connecting with the presence and the stories and the memories of water. And as I'm breathing into what we have opened, this portal that we have opened, this water portal we have opened here, what is coming to me is knowing that we all have these sacred stories with water, these sacred memories with water, and that we all have relationships with water, and water has relationships with all of us. And the memory of water is connected to the memory of our being and of our bodies. And I think as we consciously have conversations around water and talk about our conscious relationship with water, the more we are creating openings for our consciousness to shift, where we see water as a sacred being in our life. And we care for this sacred being as the sacred being that it is. How do you feel water is guiding you?
It's a really interesting question because, how do I feel water is guiding me? And the first thought is, I didn't know water was guiding me. Like that's something that was, I mean, well, I know, but thinking about the piece of before knowing of like water is guiding me, it makes me think about I'm thinking about an animal or like a pet, and how one thing I love to do with um like our dog or like with our cat, I like to put a mirror in front of their face sometimes. Or like I like to hold them, like a baby and like put them in the mirror, like on the bathroom and like I'm like, oh look at you. Like look at you, like oh, look at yourself. But like I usually don't like know. Like there's not that awareness of like a mirror of like looking. And even with the TV or like a screen, I mean, yeah, there's like moving pictures, but they don't really have this understanding or knowing. And I bring that up because, going back to, oh, I didn't know water was guiding me. Like, it's like the reflection's always there. Water has always been there, but it's like, are you aware? Like, do you see your reflection? Are you looking? Do you want to look or you want to do other things? Or you just want to like, can you see? Can you, yeah, like literally, are you capable of seeing, of knowing? So how has water been guiding me or how's water guiding me is literally through everything that I've gone through, every experience. Because water is the reflection. I'm thinking about just sitting here now and like breathing in this air, like breathing in, like trying to articulate, but I don't see what I'm breathing in, and it makes me think about the guidance, from the authentic pieces of me. I don't see everything. Like I don't see it, I don't see the pieces that haven't physically manifested yet with my eyes, at least, But in the sense of being guided by water, it's that feeling. I feel it though. Um, I'm thinking of a lazy river just floating on the water, like I feel it. I don't need to look to see that I'm being pulled or guided, but I know I am, and I trust. Hmm. Thought is like, oh, what's water trying to show me? Yeah, I truly just know, as being truly a child of water, an extension of I want to say refraction or like a drop, almost like a drop of water, drop of the ocean, drop of this big body of this vessel, the drop of the cosmos, the water, like a drop of this entire universe, this entire galaxy in this form. Uh, I mean, it's like to be on the journey isn't something of truly being able to articulate where I'm being guided or where I'm going. It's just I know I'm going and I trust the going and I'm enjoying the going. For some reason, I want to say being a creator, it's like you just trust the process. Like you just trust the process. And being a bigger creator, literally OR, trusting the extensions. I'm trying to find more words, but I mean, when it comes to being guided, as a student, I guess a student of water, being guided by the teacher, it's like, you're ready to learn and to be guided and to receive the guidance, but you don't know exactly what's coming. Like, you know, I guess the preparation is in what I've learned through my experiences. And obviously that does prepare me for what's coming. And when the coming comes, I can pull from those experiences, pull the codes. We say water codes, but truly pull that water code from that experience because I have structured it in my body. Um, so that when it's triggered, it's good. Like, we're ready, we got this. I'm thinking of muscle memory, it's water memory. That's what it is. And I feel like that's really what the guidance of water is for me, of the remembrance of what has been, what has happened. It's almost like going through a simulation, to prepare for the vastness of what will be, and to see how much is remembered, how much has already been structured, how much has already been etched in, how much is already rooted and supportive. That's what I know it is. So I had written down Ancestral Canal, thinking about like my ancestors within this country. They traveled from the south to the Midwest along that water, along that, that river, and how many experiences were gathered along the travel that would be necessary, at least for me, or that I'm using now, experiencing now, or unlocking now. And I'll end with this. To be guided by water, it's again, like I said, it's a feeling, but nothing that can really be articulated, verbalized. It's just something, it's like a knowing of like, okay, especially when the waters within me are being, I guess you can say unlocked, but are being, I guess unlocked would be the word. And it's like feeling that ignition, feeling that like, oh, I remember this. Okay, something has opened up. I guess that portal, like another portal. I've stepped into a new portal. Um, we've gone into like a new maze. And yeah, it's like being guided by the wind, or like being carried by the wind. And I do see wind as water, like water particles, in a different form or something. Or I guess even being underwater, or and like floating, like the fact of gravity, like, so like that's like it's like the guidance is not is very light. Um, yeah, it's truly like being underwater, and it like moving your limbs, like it feels it can feel like resistant to push against the water, but just to like let your body just be, is like, that's that guidance. Like, it's that flow, it's that harmony. Like, that is the guidance. And it's extremely easy. But like I said earlier, of like, being guided by water, water will always be, but there's many forms of water. So it's like, through those rough waters, how are you allowing the guidance? Like, how is the guidance being allowed? How is the floating allowed, or the trust allowed? So that is something that I have been stepping into, and it's really fun, to really trust water and to trust the guidance, no matter what it be, through everything. Because when you feel that connection, connecting to water and integrating with water, like weaving with water. I mean, when you're water, I mean, like, what else? Like, what is there not to trust, or not to, or to be afraid of, to fear, even if it cannot be seen? So I'm complete with my water guidance story.
Okay. I am the essence of life. How has water been guiding me? I feel like with my connection to water right now, the guidance is coming in as being the fluid nature of the water that I am. And so that is like learning to be with all of the, let's say, aspects of myself, the different emotions that I'll have, the different responses I'll have. And I feel like the emotional body is very connected to being fluid and the acceptance of the fluid nature of water. And I feel like that's the connection with the emotional body, is having the acceptance that the emotional body has lessons here for you, has remembrance, wisdom, knowledge here for you that's available. And so the fluid nature of the emotional body is to be present with the reflection of the emotional nature of your being. And like when we talk about the different aspects of water, I think about the emotional nature of water, the emotional nature of the water being that's being reflected in the outer world as I am reflected within. So when I say that water is teaching me to be fluid, what that feels like for me is that I am being guided to be water. I am being guided to embrace my water self. I am being guided to know myself as water nature. I am being guided to accept myself as water nature, as water being, as water essence. And I feel like that's the guidance that I'm integrating as this capitulation of wholeness for myself, right? It's always been there. The wholeness has always been there. The reflection of my whole being has always been here. And so it's allowing water to cleanse whatever, let's say, filters, ideas, thoughts, concepts that I picked up along the way. It's now embracing the cleansing of the waterways within me, right? And coming back to this pure nature of myself that has always been reflecting. So I feel like with having a much more conscious connection with water, I am having a much more conscious connection with myself. And in having this conscious connection with myself, I am deepening my connection with others. I am deepening my connection and my capacity to connect with others through our waters, through our connected waters, through our connected waterways, through our connected ancestral canals. And one of the things that was coming up for me is that water is this elder teacher that is teaching me to be and teaching me how to be the water that I am. That's the connection that I am feeling with water right now. That water is this elder in my life guiding me like a shaman, right? This elder shaman that water is guiding me to be the water that I am. So I kind of want to leave it there because I feel like that energy and the essence of that is direct and straightforward. And it's a connection, it's an energy, it's a relationship. It's not meant to be words and matter for the mind. So I want to leave it there as my sharing. Let's just take a minute to integrate the energy and the essence that's here available for us, allowing our being to soak it up, embracing, accepting. And as we weave our stories and we consciously recognize our interconnection, what aspects of my stories did you connect with that is weaving for you?
I'll start with your first story. When you were sharing, as a child being raised in Guyana and traveling, and then traveling to Canada, while being in your ancestral land and connected to water in a different way, but then traveling to a country where the water connection was kind of like, or as what it seemed to be disconnected. You mentioned sacred connection, or you realize that, like there's always this connection, you're always sacredly connected. And when you said that, I automatically just thought of like my ancestors. And being in the States, and if someone looks at me, they will say using the term Black of kind of identifying me, and the thought of oh, where do my ancestors come from, like there's always been that journey and question of trying to find the exact whereabouts, but it's not really necessary because I am, as my ancestors, there's always that sacred connection. Like I'm always connected. Despite, possibly the illusion of the disconnection from my ancestral land. And shucks, I mean, I feel like I'm on my ancestral land, to be honest. Being a water being, like there's always this connection to everything. And I'll bring that into your most recent story, when you were speaking of the emotional body, the emotional nature of our being, but more so the emotional water being. And the first thought was like, first thinking of emotion, there seems to be this judgment towards like being emotional, but bringing in the energy of like emotional water being like literally water as an energy moving, like literally energy in motion, like taking the exact and it just being manifested, like witnessing water being manifested in form and it exploring its different movements, its different way that it navigates this field, the different ways it navigates this I don't want to say board, this planet. Like I guess we can say planet because we know water came from a different planet. Like, it's from a different, not too sure on the whereabouts, but like, just witnessing water navigate itself on this planet in the way that it can be emotional, the way that its energy can move, which is, I think it's pretty awesome. And seeing it from that perspective of like, witnessing my emotional being, witness my emotional body, or kind of that interconnected relationship, or I'm doing the seesaw, that symbiotic relationship of, I guess it comes back to that presence. This makes me think about the presence of like witnessing myself, like witnessing all parts of me and how being in this physically manifested form, I'm not, speaking of like roots, we speak about roots and, being grounded in things. In the bigger picture, I'm not grounded, or I'm not for just one specific location or one space, if that makes sense. Like I'm just not meant to be just right here. Like, and now I'm thinking about a tree, like, the tree being a perfect example of like being that physically manifested form that, I mean, is unable to physically move. But thinking about the root system, obviously underground and how it connects to all of the other trees. And there's that way of movement, via energy, via this synapsis, via this connection. Um, but the beauty of me, coming back to me, of seeing me in form of how, I guess, this beauty of being, a human, the movement, like my energy, like emotion. I mean, literally, we say physical body, but like the emotional body is guiding this physically manifested body. Like this is the energy and form. Like this is the water movement. This is the water that's so densified that it can be touched, it can be grabbed, it can be hugged, it can be like it's grasp, like it can be held. Um, and that's what I just thought about, when you shared both of your stories and that connection. Um, and when you share the deepening connection, deepening our capacity with others. And it's almost like, like the deep dark waters only connects with deep dark waters. And that comes with connecting with other, emotional bodies or emotional beings, other beings of, we can only connect on where we connect, literally. What pieces of us connect? What pieces of our energy is has this synapses, this like snap together. Truly, like that's what it is. And now I'm going back to this interdependence. Thinking about community, thinking about being together in the vastness, the fact that, when we speak about Earth and how it said that, Earth is majority water, or, there's not much land. I think about us as physical beings, connecting, so having these connections of like almost like literally being a body of water, but, obviously in a different form, and, spanning across, and going back to the tree of like, I may not be able to travel that far, but as a synapses connection through my other beings, through my, we can say, soul family, cosmic family on this planet, I receive kind of what they received from that location that I'm unable to go to. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's interesting. um, yeah, that was good. That's the weaving I saw from the stories that you shared, and everything within them. So thank you. And I'm complete.
I'm kind of looking back here at some of the things that I wrote down when you were sharing your stories, and a couple of things that like jumped out for me with the, I guess, like language we were using was, um, is my water form enough to cleanse me? I think like I really connected with that language. Um, and just the trust that you were bringing forward in your stories of just trusting the process and being a student of water. And I really connected to that, being a student of water. And I think that also like connects to what you were sharing just now about this interdependence and being a student of water. And I think water is teaching us like conscious interdependence if we are attuned to the reflection of this teaching. And and like that is the cleansing, and that is being cleansed by my own waters, right? Is that And being a student of water, water is teaching me how to live interdependently, right? And like that's the profoundness of this connection that we are sharing with each other. And I think that one of the beautiful things about the self-care council that we do together is that that's an example of how we are connecting through deep waters with each other. And through that capacity to connect through deep waters with each other, we are honoring the work water is doing for us as individuals, but for us as a collective as well, and for us as I want to say as this interdependent ecological system on Earth where all beings are interdependent on water. And so that's like I think a really big connection, a really big weaving for me right now that's unraveling itself more and more and more, because I'm really enjoying how as we step deeper into connection with our own waters, we can hold space to be with each other deeper as a collective water being, as a collective water body. And the capacity to do that with each other is very sacred. And that is the teaching, that is the transcendence, that is the actualization, the manifestation of water, of conscious water bathing itself, right? So that's kind of what I'm connecting with. And, I want to thank you for bringing forward your stories and allowing this interdependence, allowing this like interconnection of water, allowing this integration and wholesomeness of water to come forward today in this circle and to evolve and expand. So as we're sitting with all that we have received, as we're sitting with all that has come forward for us to be with and embrace and accept here as the water guidance, what is one or two words that describes the nature of your being right now?
You said describes the nature of my being right now. Okay. I really want to say effortless float. Effortless presence, you know? I mean, it's it's interesting because it's like in the beginning, like we're working so hard, like it's almost like we're digging a hole or something. Then we realize, I don't know what other realization is, but like that was never necessary. Like what? Why? Like why? Like it's just let's lay down, let's relax, let's relax. Like being in this form is enough. Like that is the work itself. Let's be real. Just being in the form and like sitting is work. And obviously there's other things, but yeah, effortless presence, effortless floating. Okay, I'm gonna keep that there because I'm about to go into a whole nother thing. So I'm complete.
The word for me, I think, is also floating. I think it's lightness as well. Surrender also comes forward. And I think peace as well. Peace as well. So let's take a deep inhale. Sigh. Let's take one more deep inhale. Sigh. And as we're tuning into our presence, feeling the nature of our being, embracing the fullness and the vastness of our waters, giving thanks for this connection and giving thanks for this recognition and giving thanks for this opportunity to express life as the water present as I am, the essence of life. Embracing this journey here today as the water being I am. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed the stories shared and feel inspired to connect deeper with what was revealed to you. Let us know how you connected with this week's episode and email us at symbioticwaters@gmail.com. Join us in our monthly self-care council, a communal healing circle we create together by showing up and witnessing each other in care. Find us on IG and TikTok at Symbiotic Waters and Moving Earth Convergent Waters on YouTube. Until we gather again in the abundant presence, peace.